let's talk about Canelo Alvarez. You mentioned him earlier. There's been some back and forth with the WBC and Canelo Alvarez. Specifically around a year ago, he was a little bit critical of the organisation. But then when he had the issue with the clenbuterol test, you seemed to come out in support of him and his innocence. So I just wanted to ask, what's the current situation between the WBC and Canelo?
We never had any situation with him. He had it with the WBC. We have been supportive of his career for a decade. He's a young kid. When money, fame, and temptations come, usually we see boxers change because it's natural. And it was a tough year for him with different thought process. But we cannot take that and go and do unjust things. The clenbuterol ruling was based on facts and justice. So we did what we had to do. We explained, we researched, we do the ruling, which proved that he was contaminated with food, and that was the reason for the positive. And that proved to be right when he had all the next tests coming negative.
And he's now going to be fighting for the WBA regular title up at super middleweight, which took everyone by surprise when it was announced last week against Rocky Fielding. How much did you know about that fight and when it was going to happen before we all found out?
No, just about the same day. He asked for a voluntary defense, for a voluntary fight before any mandated position. So we mandated Canelo to fight, Golovkin to fight Charlo, while Canelo had a voluntary. Oscar de la Hoya went to the convention. We had a conversation. Canelo will represent the WBC in that fight, and he's just free to do it, and then he can decide if he stays in 168 or moves back to 160.
Would you have preferred it if he wanted a voluntary fight for a title at 168 pounds? Would you have preferred it that he fought the WBC champion at 168 pounds instead?
Well, the WBC champion, Benavidez, had a problem with doping, with street drugs, recreational drugs, so he has been put in champion in recess, so there's no champion. Maybe that's why he took the route of another organization.
Yeah, so it's Anthony Dirrell's going to be fighting for the title now against Avni Yildirim. Just quick question on Benavidez. He's been made champion in recess, as you alluded to. Given he was caught using recreational drugs, as you described, was there no discussion of giving him a punishment for that rather than just taking his title away?
Well, he's been punished. We are taking the title away, but at the same time, we are putting him under our protection because he's going to do psychological therapy, he's going to do addiction therapy, he's going to do social work, and he's going to be 1 year probation with drug anti-doping testing. So we are punishing him, but at the same time we're not leaving him. He's 21 years old, and he will be a future star if he can go back into the clean competition.
I read a story earlier this morning, actually, talking about Yildirim going up in the rankings in place of Chris Eubank Jr. And apparently one of the reasons for that is that Eubank Jr. had, your quote, rejected the WBC. What did you mean by that? What did Eubank do?
In the World Boxing Super Series, I went in Riga for the fight him against Yildirim, and he graciously, and he was not aggressive in any form or manner, but he rejected to compete for the WBC at that time.
For the full title?
No, in the World Boxing Super Series, the WBC was part of the whole process because we put the diamond belt as a major prize for the event, which Callum Smith has. So every single fight of the Super Series was technical part of the WBC. And when I approached him, he said no, he would not represent the WBC.
And was he the only one who said no?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe he's the only one that rejected.
So did you take his rejection to mean that he would have no interest in fighting for any WBC title now?
Well, he talked to me directly, and that's a clear fact. It's not a suggestion, it's not gossip, it's just a reality that happened when we met in Riga.